folks, so welcome back to my channel, and for this video I'm going to be doing another book review on another Scottish novel. And before I get on to that, before I could deal with the main body of this video, a wee bit of housekeeping first. If you are enjoying my channel, if you enjoy my videos, if you can click on that subscribe button, click on that notification bell, leave some likes, leave some comments, it's always really appreciated. And if you'd like to support the channel further, I will post a link to charlescoffee.com page in the description bar below and then a pinned comment in the comment section. So with that out of the roads, I'll move on and go into what I am supposed to be talking about for this video. And the novel that I'm going to be talking about is actually one of the novels that I got last year from Abbey Books when I went in and had a bit of a book haul from Abbey Books itself. And the book that I'm going to be looking at is called Stone by Nigel Tranter. So for those who don't know, and I think there probably will be some people who don't know, Nigel Tranter was from the Scottish borders and is famous for writing novels based on Scottish history. So I think one of the most famous books that he did was called The Wallace, and he also wrote the Bruce trilogy, obviously about William Wallace and Robert the Bruce. But he has written a lot of different other novels based around Scottish history. And this one here, if you know anything about Scottish history, you probably will have guessed the topic that it's dealing with from just the title. It is about the Stone of Destiny, which is also known as the Stone of Scone. And I think some people sometimes also refer to it as being Jacob's pillow, because there is a legend that the Stone of Scone was brought to Ireland by an Egyptian princess called Scotia, and it was supposed to be the stone that Jacob rested his pillow on when he had some vision of heaven. I'm not too up on my biblical stories, so I'm sure somebody could tell me the full thing kind of in the description bar below. But it was believed to have had some connection to the Old Testament, and it was finally brought from Ireland to Scotland. I think it initially was held in Dalriada, which is now mostly in Argyll, and it was finally brought to Scoon, and that's where it was used as the crowning stone for the Kings of Scotland. And I think the whole connection to the Egyptian princess, that's very much kind of myth making and storytelling and kind of giving the stone provenance in order for why it's used as the crowning stone. But we do know that it was kept at Scoon Abbey, which is now where Scoon Palace is, and it was used within the crowning ceremony of the Kings of Scots. So it's like kings like Duncan and Malcolm Canmore, Macbeth, they were all crowned at Scoon while sitting on the Stone of Destiny, or the Stone of Scone. And it was in the late 13th century, during the Wars of Independence, or the First War of Independence. Edward Longshanks, the King of England, came up and stopped at Scoon, and obviously knowing the significance of the Stone of Scone, essentially took it down to England and had it incorporated within the coronation throne in Westminster Abbey, where it was used for centuries within the crowning, or within the crowning ceremony of Kings of England and later the monarchs of the UK. So yeah, it was like people like Henry V, Henry VIII, Elizabeth I, right up to the present monarch Elizabeth II. And it was what, back in the 1950s, a group of Scottish students managed to break into Westminster Abbey and forcibly removed the Stone of Destiny from the coronation throne and managed to kind of spirit it away and end up abandoning it in Arbroath. And the local authorities were informed, and they essentially came and collected it and took it back down to England. And it was, the last time it was used was in 1953 with the coronation of Elizabeth II. And I think it was 1996? It was the 1990s anyway, late 90s. It was taken from Westminster and taken up to Scotland, and it's currently kept in Edinburgh Castle. And there are talks that it could possibly be moved to the city of Perth, because they are working on what could possibly be a museum focusing on the Stone of Destiny, which they would like to house the stone itself. But that's very much kind of still kind of in the sky. Well, I think they're working on the museum at the moment, but the moving of the stone is currently still being discussed. But even though the stone was held in Westminster, and which is now currently held in Edinburgh Castle, is generally accepted and seen as being the Stone of Scone, the Stone of Destiny, there are some conspiracy theories that it's not the original stone. And that is pretty much where Nigel Tranter's The Stone comes in. And I think one of the main theories, or one of the main conspiracy theories, is that the abbot at Scoon Abbey knew that Longshanks was coming, and that he managed to put a replica in the stone's place, and so that Longshanks could take the replica away, and kept the real stone somewhere safe. And yeah, so that's kind of that's the main one. And apparently they believe it is hidden somewhere in Perthshire. And I think that's kind of one that Nigel Tranter was following when he wrote this novel. And he essentially has a story centering around three main characters. It's Patrick Kincaid, Jean and Rudy. And essentially how Patrick Kincaid ends up coming to what is essentially his ancestral estate, which was taken from his ancestors after the 45, and he knows or suspects that the Stone of Destiny is actually there. It is actually hidden within the estate and has been kept there safe for centuries. And it comes out that this team of archaeologists from Oxford are actually coming up to the Kincaid estate, which I think is actually a fictitious estate, because I tried looking it up and tried to find out if there was a Kincaid estate in Perthshire, and I couldn't find any mention of it online. So I do think it is a fictitious creation of Nigel Tranter as a basis for the story. And so Patrick Kincaid finds out that this team of archaeologists are coming up, and ends up meeting up with Rudy, who is this guy from Glasgow who is something of a kind of bit of an anarchist, and they start working on trying to locate the stone. And then Jean, who actually owns a nearby farm, realises that there's these two guys who are acting kind of suspiciously within the estate, and she goes to try and find out who they are, and she gets swept up within the whole attempt to try and find the stone. And it does very much descend into something of an historical thriller. And it's not as like fast paced as something like the Da Vinci Code or anything. That's very, very much kind of every chapter something's happening. It's very much kind of constantly kind of being very fast paced. This is more of a slow burn, I would say. It's more, it just takes its time with everything that's happening. That they would, as like every time that Patrick and everybody else who is involved with what's going on within, trying to find the stone and keep it within Scotland and keep it safe within Scotland. It's almost like every time they take one step forward, something happens, and they've got to end up reacting to what has happened and try to adapt and change their plan. So through all of that, it very much creates a sense that they are only just keeping ahead of the authorities and just keeping ahead of the archaeologists from Oxford. It very much does create that sense of anticipation. Are they going to be able to retrieve the stone? Are they going to be able to get it somewhere safe? Are they going to be able to keep it in Scotland? Are they going to get found out? Are they going to get found with the stone? Are they going to get caught? And it very much develops throughout the story of that's just this sense of they're always on the verge of getting caught and end up getting out and escaping just with the skin of their teeth. And it's throughout the book as well, because initially a couple of the archaeologists actually realise that the stone's been found and come across Patrick and Jean and realise that they have the stone, but they're never able to identify this couple. Although the archaeologists who find them are never able to identify who Patrick and Jean are, because they're essentially seen in the shadows. And even though they're challenged, Jean and Patrick somehow manage to talk their way out of the situation and manage to escape with the stone. But again, that just starts the chase of them constantly trying to figure out how to move the stone and get it somewhere safe and keep it out of the hands of these archaeologists. And it's throughout the story, you're also getting little snippets of what is being said about the events in the news, and it very much does create this sense that within the majority of the British media, Patrick, Jean and Rudy, there's obviously their identities are not known, but they're still presented as being the villains within the press. That it's almost like the press are trying to create the sense that Patrick, Jean and Roddy are the ones who are in the wrong, even though they feel that they're actually the ones who are doing the right thing. They're trying to protect a Scottish relic. They're trying to keep that relic in Scotland for the Scottish people, and they feel this is their patriotic duty. And even though I did enjoy reading Nigel Tranter's The Stone, there are some things I did kind of find kind of not really annoying, but kind of a bit niggly. And again, I don't know if it's maybe the era that Tranter was writing in, that this is just the general style, but I did find that a lot of what was happening within the book was very much tell rather than show. And again, something that I've always been expected to do as a writer, I've always been taught to do as a writer, is you show, you don't tell. You don't say that somebody's angry, you show that they're angry. That sort of thing. But I did find that he was very much kind of telling us what was going on rather than showing. And again, it's like I do tend to kind of like it when authors show you what's going on. They do tend to use more show than tell. But that didn't take away from my enjoyment of the story. And I also think that it would have been quite interesting to maybe have been shown what was going on with those on the other side. It's like, what were the Oxford team experiencing? What did they actually see? It's like, what did they think of what was going on around them? It's like, it's essentially, I'd have been finding it quite interesting if we'd been shown the events from their perspective. And I'm not meaning it should have all been shown from their perspective, but I think it would have been quite interesting to at least see some of it, to see like to see how they felt towards the stone. It's like what they felt should have been happening with the stone, how they felt towards Patrick and those who were helping him, and which I think may have made things a bit more interesting, a bit more kind of complicated, and maybe giving things a bit more of a twist as well. And the last thing that I think could have improved the book was I found that the ending was a bit rushed. That we had all this build up during the book of how they're going to get out, how they're going to get the stone to somewhere safe, how they're going to protect the stone, how they're going to keep it in Scotland. And I did find the ending was a bit rushed, bit of an anti-climax, and it was just a bit sit and go. It was for the last chapter. It was essentially just the last chapter to sit and going, is that it? Is that how it's going to be left? Yeah, I think the ending could have done with a bit more of a bang, a bit more of a climax essentially. So I did kind of find the ending a bit anticlimactic, but I did find the story interesting. I did find it an enjoyable read, as it for the most part, and I did think that it was kind of quite an interesting take on the whole views on what is essentially quite an important Scottish artefact. Yeah, it's important enough that it's actually now housed with the rest of the Scottish crown jewels in Edinburgh Castle. So it's not just being housed anywhere in Edinburgh, it's in Edinburgh Castle, and one of the most secure parts of the castle itself, and essentially with the rest of the crown jewels. So it's definitely an item that is historically, culturally and socially quite an important artefact, especially for people who are interested in Scottish history and that sort of thing. So it's kind of quite an interesting book from that respect. And even though I did feel like the ending was a bit of an anti-climax, I did enjoy reading it, and I think it probably would be an interesting read for anyone who is interested in Scottish literature, Scottish history, and maybe wants a bit of a Scottish historical thriller. So I'm going to finish up here before I really start to ramble. Hopefully you will have enjoyed this video and you'll all be interested in reading The Stone by Nigel Tranter. And I'll see you all in the next video. Bye bye.